Fairly. Right.
Oh, good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. Whether you're watching this live or on a recording, the key is you're going to get some tips today, and please feel free to reach out at any time. We've got several experts who will be talking about Black Friday, about your e-commerce business, about being more successful in your business, and you'll be getting some tips and techniques that will be valuable for not only Black Friday, but for other opportunities. Certainly, we want you ready this year and anytime to be able to be successful. So my name is Doug. I'm zooming in from the United States. We have presenters from Europe and from Japan. Lingbol is in Asia, but also supplies clients around the world. I'd like to introduce our facilitator today. It's JB Deal. He's the founder and managing director at Avant-Garde. However, he's also business development partner at Lingbol. JB, thank you for joining today. Thank you for your support and collaboration. We look forward to learning more. Please go ahead and introduce our guests.
Thank you very much for this great introduction, Doug. It's always a pleasure to be the host and work with you. I think this is so amazing, and thank you. So as you mentioned, I'm a business accelerator. I work on global trade and investment projects, and I'm a business development partner at Lingbol. So as a business development partner, my role is to support companies and brands to expand their global e-commerce. And so that's why we have this event today. So it's a pleasure to have this meeting. So we are today together with Mahoto. Mahoto Harada is the CEO of Lingbol. So Mahoto is a very interesting person. He's from Japan, connecting from Japan, but he lives in Paris. He will be talking to us and presenting a little bit more about the company. I will be sharing a presentation with slides a little bit later. And then also we'll have the pleasure to talk with Marcus. So Marcus is based in Northern Ireland, and is specialized for marketing and onboarding, client onboarding and success team, basically. So we'll be your team today, and we'll be presenting on global e-commerce with the topic of Black Friday, which is such a big, important event. So allow me to share my screen. Can you all see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're good.
great.
Thanks, JB.
You're very welcome. So everything you need to know about Black Friday. This is just in one sentence why we are here today. We'll be presenting you some tips, and of course, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. So if you have any question, please save them for later. We'll be happy to answer any question you may have. And for those who are watching a recording, you'll be able to connect with us, later also. So so basically we are three speakers, as I mentioned. So Mahoto, CEO of Lingbol, and Marcus, and myself. So Mahoto, if you want to start by perhaps giving us a little bit more information about yourself and how you, because this is such an amazing story, so I don't want to spoil it. I prefer that you explain by yourself in your own words the story of Lingbol, which is such an amazing story. So please go ahead, Mahoto.
Thank you, JB. Hi, everyone. My name is Mahoto, and I'm the CEO of Lingbol. Just to give you a little bit of a history of Lingbol, we actually do start it as a retailer, even though lots of people in the company think that we are a developing company or service providers. We did actually carry inventory and started off by selling Japanese denim to markets around the globe. That was because when I lived in the Netherlands, a Dutch friend of mine was always complaining that he cannot get a hands on Japanese denim that he was very enthusiastic about. So I decided to start a company that sells Japanese denim, but it was incredibly difficult because you have to understand different markets, payment methods, logistics, and everything. And in that time, I was not a developer, so I decided to go to an MBA in Switzerland. Then after graduating from MBA in Switzerland, IMD, I joined a tech company called the Cookpad. That's where I learned how to program and create a service. So in 2013, I restarted that denim business, starting from scratch, developing the system and everything. From there, one by one, we try to penetrate the different markets. By the time we looked back, we were shipping more than 100 countries, and we had lots of fantastic customers outside of our origin country, Japan. So I thought, why not just denim? And there are lots of brands who are having the same pain where they didn't know how to scale out of the nations. That's why we came up with this concept of Lingable, where we support clients just as a Sherpa of climbing up a mountain, because there's no elevator or escalator on global expansions. So that's where we are, and that's how we Lingable help companies. Was that good enough, JB?
Yes, it's wonderful. Thank you very much for this.
Thanks.
All right. So, Marcus, if you want to give a few words about yourself, I think you can do it better than I would do.
Don't worry, I'm a very boring person. Fundamentally, I'm an academic. The only funny thing is that I used to be a customer of Denimio's, like Mahoto's first shop. And after years of being a lecturer in media studies and consumer psychology, it just made a lot of sense to get firsthand experience. I am actually one of these people who's very passionate about products. So when the opportunity presented itself to join Lingbo full-time, I jumped on it, and I haven't regretted it for a single second. So, because I love marketing, I love branding, and I love selling things internationally. So that's me.
He's a treasure of Lingbo.
Wonderful. Thank you for this great introduction. All right, so let's carry on with the slides. So I guess, Mahoto, this is still, if you want to
Sure.
carry on from now. Yeah, great.
So the concept of Lingbo is, as I said, being a Sherpa. I always use this background of climbing up a mountain. Lots of people feel that you can conquer the world just by having a good tool. But you can imagine that if I give you the best tools in the world and tell you, go ahead, climb up the Mount Everest, it's going to be super tough because you don't know how to use those tools, or you don't know how to climb up the mountain, right? And just as that, we have, in terms of expanding outside of your nation, you have to take care of customers, different perspectives, as well as legal issues are different, logistics are different, marketings are different, so many things are different, and it's changing every day. So Lingable's concept is being a Sherpa for your global expansions, using global e-commerce as one of the most convenient tools to expand outside of your nations. So our concept is to unite you as a brand to consumers around the world who have not yet met experienced your brand, so that they can become your beloved fans throughout the world. So as you can see underneath of Lingable, our concept is journey further together. So you can go to the next slide, Jean-Baptiste. Just to give you a bit of an introduction to our team, management members. Vanessa lives in Singapore, and she used to be a lawyer, fantastic lawyer. And just as you can imagine, global e-commerce involves lots of legal issues, legal stuff. Like all the private, privacy law, just as GDPR is different. Export and import regulations change all the time. She takes care of the legal side as well. And David, Lindsay, and Sebastian are Net-a-Porter gangs. For those who are not familiar with Net-a-Porter, Net-a-Porter is one of the most famous global e-commerce fashion company in Europe, based in England. David used to be a CTO and Sebastian used to be a CFO. And they decided to jump on Linkable. Dell is our CTO. He's an Australian, but he's leading our dev team in Vietnam. He's, as you can see, he's not teenager anymore, and he has width of a experience starting from fintech, blockchain, of course, e-commerce. So fantastic person to lead our team. Howie is my classmate from IMD, the MBA school in Switzerland, and he is a professional branding person, which is very important for global expansions. And Naosuke is our CFO, who helps me in terms of finance and planning those financial projections and finance side of the planning with me. And as you can see, Linkable has employees throughout the world, 30 different countries. That means that we can basically take care of initial phase of marketing really quickly, just to assess, for instance, demand from abroad, and give brands feedback about how we should adjust the branding or the product development. And the fact that we started, the first person we hired was Indonesian and Romanian. I'm Japanese. So as you can imagine, we don't have a specific country culture as our corporate culture, which is very important for a global company and global e-commerce company. And we are global native as well as a remote native. And I think this is one of the fortunate asset we have, DNA we have, as being a global e-commerce player. You can go to the next slide, JB. In terms of approach of helping our clients climbing up the mountain, i.e. expanding and taking on a journey of the global expansions, we don't just toss you a backpack and say, there you go, climb up the mountain, Mount Everest. We basically accompany you each step, and we also plan how you approach the mountain. So as you can see, we started with the preparation and planning in terms of deciding the route, the reviewing your branding aspect, because the branding that works for your nation doesn't mean that it works for every different countries. And many companies make a mistake by taking the third step, which is involving distributors and, for instance, exhibiting at international trade shows. When you don't have any awareness in the market, it's going to be very difficult to convince distributors and retailers, as well as attending to trade shows and attract different partners. So we basically take care of those initial phase of marketing, branding, as well as creating a strong community. By then, you have enough ground to approach to offline distributors as well as exhibitions. We also help clients and the distributors, the brands, to arrange and plan for those offline expansions as well. By the time you move to the fourth step and fifth step, you need a proper global e-commerce structure in order to accumulate your branding asset into a single platform. And that's where global e-commerce comes into play. You can go to the next slide, JB. So our solution as a whole is, we named it as a global guide. And inside it, we have 3 pillars. One is solution, i.e. the backpack for climbing the mountain. We ourselves developed those tools by experiencing climbing the mountain as a retailer to start with. And then, but no matter how great tools you have, as long as you don't know how to use those tools, or you have never navigated on a mountain climbing, you cannot use it as a full potential. So we also take care of the traffic generation part by our premium marketing division, where we formulate strategies for our clients, as well as implementing the community building, as well as sometimes the creative creations and things like that. And these two interact each other to create a global, GMV. But we also realize that many companies who are really committed, as well as who prepare enough branding budget to invest in. Often, many companies do not have capable resources to tackle different markets. For instance, language issues, culture issues, and things like that, or domestic business is way too busy. So we also have this division called the peak performance, which is like filling in missing party members when you don't have it. All these three basically work together to make sure that you climb up the mountain step by step. Go to the next slide. So I guess I can pass my microphone to, who is it? Marcus, is it?
No, it's JB.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
maybe.
me. Yes. So thank you very much, Mahoto, for this great presentation. So what I would like to complement is basically that Lingball started as a small brand, but now is actually working with so many large brands, especially in the Japanese market. So Lingball now works with brands that are making 10 million US dollar of sales annually, up to billions of dollars. So like huge success, especially in Japan. And so based on this success and on the past success that Mahoto, you've built, we are here to share with you some very important tips regarding Black Friday. And as you might know, I think we all have a different understanding of what is Black Friday. Some of us might be very new to this concept, but some might be very, I mean, everyone might know about Black Friday already. So if that is the case, please feel free to ask any specific question. We'll be very happy to go more in depth during the Q&A session. All right, so as you know, Black Friday first started to appear in 1869. So it's a very old event, a very old date. And what is important is it's kickstarting the start of the holiday season. So the holiday season, you have Black Friday, but after that you have, it leads up to Christmas, but it's also including, all those other, I would say, important days like the Cyber Week, it's basically what will happen is during the holiday season, any business will generate roughly 35% of their annual business is generated during the holiday season, starting with Black Friday. So it's a very, very important day in e-commerce, and especially after COVID, because COVID was a huge accelerator for online e-commerce. And so it's still very, very strong. So so basically that's what we can say now. We are in a it's more important than ever to be developing and think about developing global e-commerce. And this timeline is very important. I want to add value to this presentation, so I won't read all the slides. So please feel free to read that information by yourself. But it's very, very important to understand the concept of Black Friday. So as I mentioned earlier, like the sales have been continually increasing online. And in 2022, we recorded $9 billion US, over 9.12 billion US dollar of sales on Black Friday, which is huge. And it's increasing by a pretty good amount each year. So this is why Black Friday is so important. So we are traditionally online. Most of I would say the best-selling items are roughly the size of an item you can fit in a little box. So they should not be too small. They should not be too big. And that's going to be your sweet spot here. And also regarding the price point, which is going to be roughly around minimum 100 US dollar of basket price. But of course, could be a lot more expensive. We actually sell also art, with Lingball, so which is quite amazing because those are very, very expensive items. But basically, normally the sweet spot would be around 150 US dollar of average basket price, and the top popular categories would be fashion, number one, food supplement, and also home and garden accessory, especially kitchenware. For those three categories of product that are going to be very successful. So if you are in those categories, it's very, very important to have a very strong strategy for developing your global e-commerce. So we hope that this can be helpful. So why is Black Friday important? Number one, because you want to boost sales, and we are all here to develop business. It's also a very important time of the day to develop customer acquisition, to sometime make a promotion. You want to use this as a way to acquire a new client, even though you might do a special promotion, and also to gain market visibility. So I think we'll be discussing with this, and Marcus will have a lot to say about that. But market visibility is very, very important. As Mahoto mentioned, it's very important to be, to build your brand awareness. So let people know that you're here, you exist, so that actually people come to you, and then even offline, it will be easier for you to develop your network of distributor if you're strong online, if you have a strong online presence. So Black Friday is very important for market visibility also. Great. So yeah, I think I skipped one slide. So Marcus, please feel free to go ahead.
I love it. Like, you're not wasting any time. So now we've talked a bit about the history and the theory. What we want to do next is give you a bit of a practical advice, because gray is all theory, and you probably want to know what we've learned over the years of doing this. So before we start with some case studies, let's go to the next slide and look at some basic ground rules. There we go. So one of the things that we've learned is start early, plan and announce. The reality of this is everyone is expecting Black Friday to happen. So your sales will drop in the first half of November anyway, no matter what you do, right? People wait for the good deals to happen in the second half of November. However, start leaking deals early. One of the advantages is, like, everyone knows you're doing Black Friday. Give them something, give them some leaks, give them an idea what you're doing, right? Coordinate your promotional activities across all channels. All the touch points that you have need to make sure people understand what's going on. So once you actually officially launch, go in hard. Have your banners, your emails, your social media all ready so that you have an aligned message. There's no room for error here. Everything needs to be on point. Because you need to plan early, consider magnifying the awareness that you want to generate by working with influencers. Influencers is basically the new PR. Everyone knows this in e-commerce, right? So if you have a Black Friday, that's another touch point. Use the people who work with you to make sure that everyone knows it. Give these people early access. Give them the opportunity to inform people. And another thing that's really, really crucial, and I cannot stress this enough, watch the competition and be flexible. So if you plan to start your Black Friday on the 14th, but your main competitor announces that they're going to start on the 13th, be ready to basically push the sale and start a day earlier. You need to be ready to react to these kind of market changes like this with a flick of a finger. It's incredibly crucial. If someone beats you by 24 hours and he has basically the same offers as you do in similar products, that is going to do a lot of damage if you cannot react. Second thing, make a compelling offer. This is the one time of the year, guys, where you can actually lower your prices without hurting your brand's integrity. I hear this from a lot of brands when people say, we do not do sales. Sales is not for us. We're not a sales brand. And you're right. However, on Black Friday, all bets are off. Think about this as the film The Purge. One night of the year, people get to do whatever they want. That applies to Black Friday as well. On Black Friday, people expect it. It won't hurt your brand integrity. It won't hurt how people see your brand. Do it. Don't worry. We've seen this. We've worked with luxury brands before. We had these discussions. It works. Don't worry about it. The second thing, people expect quite a heavy discount. Again, it's Black Friday is fully ritualized, so people have certain expectations. So 15 to 20% oftentimes is not compelling enough. People expect discounts to 30 to 50%. I'm going to say this, though, if you are a brand that never does sales, 15 to 20% is still a good offer. If you do sales quite often, if you're the kind of brand that does spring sales, summer sales, Valentine's Day sales, in that case, think about Black Friday as the ultimate sale. You will never get bigger discounts than on Black Friday, right? The second thing, last thing on this one is consider sales across the whole website. Selection of available things on sale makes a massive difference. The more items you have on sale, the better the return you'll see. And the last one, which again is something we learned, give your VIP customers something special, right? The guys that shop with you all the time, make sure they feel valued. Like, these are your brand ambassadors. These are the people who carry the message. These are the guys who sing your gospel. So give them early access, for instance, give them a bigger discount. Make sure that these people feel appreciated. This is one of the best things you can do. It doesn't cost as much as you might think, but the return you'll see on this is outstanding, right? And lastly, even if you don't want to do this for a long time, even if you give them 24 hours of early access and special discounts, it makes all the difference. Small gestures go a long way, right? Next slide. Actually, now we're going to go to the case studies. So next slide. Here's a couple of things that we have done over the years, and just really quickly want to run you through them. So the first one is case study number 1, 20% off selected items. The discounts were given on popular items. That's a good choice if you don't want to do site-wide. We actually capitalized sales by giving people the opportunity to shop items that are usually not on sale. One thing that we did here, which I think worked really well, we run a Black Friday teaser campaign, which means a lot of people knew Black Friday is coming, so they were aware of this, so they could already go to the website and put things into their carts. That's fantastic, because once these people go back to the site and Black Friday has started, things are already in their cart and they can just check out. It was a really successful campaign. We had revenue from Black Friday, 5 days, but we generated 1 month of revenue within 5 days. So that's a good one. The second one, 30% off store-wide, big discounts of up to 33%. That's very attractive to customers. We did this for actually 1 week only, and we generated 2 times the monthly revenues in a week, right? And the last one, 15% off for 2 items. Now, this doesn't sound great at first. I get that. But think about the fact that the average order value is higher, which means this actually is quite attractive for you. And the revenue from Black Friday for this campaign was still 1 time the monthly revenue within a 2-week campaign period. So at the end of the day, at least these people broke even, which is really important, because if you don't do this on Black Friday, if you don't have any campaigns, you're going to have a horrible November. That's just... Hi, Joseph. Let's go to the next slide. A key takeaway here is that there's a direct correlation between the discount rate and revenue. So of course, the higher the discount, the lower the profit. But as we've said earlier, do not forget that this is also an exercise in marketing. So even though the profits might not be as plush or plumb as you might want them to be, this still means you get a lot of exposure. You might be able to generate first-time customers. Once you have a first-time customer and they had a great experience, they're so much more likely to become return customers. So this really, as a marketing acquisition costs, make total sense. Now, from there, let's go to some case studies where things did not go as planned, which is the next slide. So we have 2 case studies here. One is a free gift and one is a free point giveaway. I'm going to talk about these a bit because I think it's really important that everyone is on board with this. Black Friday is, as Jean-Baptiste says, almost 150, 180 years old. It's really old, but it has gained quite some traction in the second half of the 20th century. People are fully aware of this. This is like Christmas. You can't have Christmas without Santa Claus. You can't have Christmas without a Christmas tree. There's so many expectations because it's a ritual, right? So on Black Friday, people want a discount. If you give them a free gift, it's not as attractive as a discount, no matter what the gift is, unless you give your most popular product away. But a free gift in most cases is a small thing. Could be a pen, could be an accessory, it doesn't matter. People usually do not get excited about that. So the revenue you get from Black Friday, if you run a gift campaign, in this case, is half of the average monthly revenue within a 7-day campaign period, which is not a lot. The second one is a free point giveaway. Going to explain this a bit. Most websites these days have loyalty points, right? So these are points that customers can freely spend on whatever products they want. So this client has decided to give points for Black Friday. There's a lot of problems with this. First of all, a lot of the competition doesn't do discounts, doesn't do giveaways or point giveaways. They actually give you a discount. Discounts always means point giveaways. Point giveaway is a fixed thing, right? So point giveaway is like $30 max. Whereas Black Friday actually encourages you to spend more to save more. So this is why a discount always beats the point giveaway. And another thing, I'm going to say this in the last slide as well, keep it simple. Any customer who has to read an email twice to understand what your campaign is probably won't do it. It's not a good thing. The revenue from this Black Friday campaign was less than 0.8 of the average monthly revenue within a 2-week campaign period. Right. That brings us to the takeaways. Start your Black Friday campaign earlier than other competitors. I'm aware that this is getting a bit ridiculous. Some guys are starting their Black Fridays now in October. Obviously, there's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. You need to figure out what works for you. But usually, we recommend at least 1 week. That should do the trick. Simplify the promotions and mechanisms for customers. The easier, the better. As we say, just give them a discount code or have the discount directly applied to the website. Perfect. Give compelling discounts on popular items. The one thing that people really, really hate is if the product that everyone wants is not on discount, is not on sale. That usually gives you quite a bit of bad feedback in the relevant forums. So try to think about this from a consumer's point of view. If you have a hero product, make sure it's there. And that's the last thing. Announce Black Friday campaign 1 week prior to start date. The reason for that is, even if you don't want to start as early as your competitors, at least let your customers know that you will have a Black Friday campaign. That allows them to at least wait and have the money ready if you start your campaign. It's basically just making sure they don't spend their money elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, everyone is having sales and people only have so much money to spend. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this amazing presentation, Marcus. I think it has a lot of value. So I think I'm sure many people will be asking questions a bit later. Let me stop sharing the screen now so we can go back to the open window. And I guess if anyone has any question, we are here to answer any question you may have.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, we are talking with a lot of information, talk about the planning on the let's say the commercial part, but maybe 1 or 2 lines about the logistics, because one of the headaches that you have in the Black Friday is that you have a very good sales platform with a market speech and so on, and then later you took 3 weeks to deliver the products. How are you seeing, or you are looking at the logistics in this peak season? Something different than the past, or we're still having the same situations? I mean,
you make
some comments about the logistics.
You're making a really good point. And one of the good news for you is that people are aware of this, right? Literally every retailer I know that does a big Black Friday has a disclaimer somewhere saying, like, the shipment might be slightly delayed because we are having so many orders. That's normal. The one thing you need to really, really, really be careful about, a lot of people buy Christmas presents on Black Friday. So if you are not sure that you can deliver things by Christmas, then you will have to have your customer care team on high alert to make sure that they can communicate that with their customers. But in general, it's very similar to COVID, right? You all remember COVID and the shipping logistics issues we had back then. People were quite forgiving, and it's similar to Black Friday. People are aware that the warehouses are maxed out. As long as you're transparent about it, it's not a problem. And again, as long as you take more than 4 weeks to ship things out, you're okay.
But you consider that you have to prepare your customer services team to give in the proper answers and so on, because okay, to say that, hey, by December the 24th in the afternoon you get your package, but maybe sometimes it's not the proper answer that they should give to the customers. Also, I don't know if it's the idea is to having, a disclaimer is okay, but maybe preparing the customer services team to give in proper answers, or
yeah.
Because from one side is good to, let's say, to put this disclaimer, but for the other side is that, hey, I get this promotion, this mobile, and I get this in 3 or 4 weeks. So how to balance those two situations, no?
Yes, I think you make a very good point. Like, you should brief your customer care team to give detailed answers. Transparency is key. People want to know why things take longer. And if you can give them updates, whatever it is, they will appreciate it. What we've learned from our Black Friday campaigns in the past is that customer care needs to be able to, for instance, give people a discount to make sure. That's just one example. Give them a discount for the next order, or even give them points, something like that, just to make sure that the customer feels seen. A lot of this is emotional, right? Most people actually don't need their product as urgently. It's not like they're ordering medicine. So it's just a feeling. Customer care, usually, if you have a good customer care service, is able to get the customers calm, to give them an idea what's happening. So you make a very good point. This is actually a big thing. You don't just sit down with customer care and say, customers might get angry. You brief them. You talk about different scenarios. You look at data from last year. And with all of that, you should be able to teach your team to take ownership. That's really important. Ownership of managing customers' expectations. But I think Mahoto probably has a lot more to share about this than me.
Well, that's why Lingable provides customer support as well. You know, because these kind of things are very different per country to country. So one other good example is that, for instance, you know, we have customers, clients everywhere in the world. But let's say that, let's take an example of Japan, for instance. In Japan, if you have a website, usually you have a disclaimer saying that we cannot receive returns because of your change of a mind, or because of, you know, unless there's a defect. Which is not the case in Europe. In Europe, by law, I mean, like, businesses are supposed to receive returns no matter what the reason is. So if the Japanese brands or companies are not aware about this business habit in Europe, they can never create a great fans that fall in love with the brand, and vice versa. So it is true that, especially when you're expanding your business outside of your country and you want to have your beloved fans everywhere in the world, customer support is the key. Customer support who understands every different markets and how they think is key. And but at the same time, when there are cases such as, like, you inevitably delay the shipping because of the unexpected demand, things like that, it is an opportunity to, if you handle correctly. If you made a mistake by, you know, saying that, well, because we have a disclaimer, sorry, but, you know, the delay is delay, it is not going to help your branding, and it is not going to create loyal customer to your brand, which can be more costly than, for instance, giving something for free, or giving some kind of like reward points or coupons. So your customer care team needs to be very very determined to treat your customers as if it's your family members. So I sometimes use this when we train our customer care team. I tell them that treat your customers like your family members. If your mother asks, hey, sorry, Mahoto, I bought this t-shirt, but it was too small, can I exchange? You're not gonna say to your mother, saying like, oh, sorry, mom, it was a sales campaign, so no return is accepted. Of course, you will accept the return if it was your mother, right? Treat your customers like your mother. Another time, you're not gonna say to your mother by saying like, mother, this time only, I spoke with my supervisor, and my supervisor gave an inspection, so we can accept your return. But this is your fault, so you have to pay the shipping cost. You say $20, but you're not gonna create your family. So in the long run, your success depends on how you treat your clients as if it's your as if your family. Because when they become your family, they spread the word. They spread the words. They create videos for you. And it is more valuable than giving $200 of item for free. So I think that's the key to build your loyal customer base, and which in return, looking back, you might have you know, the beloved clients from 100 different countries. And that's the key.
Yeah, and that just to build on what you just said is that to take responsibility, because some companies used to say, and I give consulting to some companies that, hey, this is UPS problem, this is FedEx problem, they not deliver. So it doesn't work because I buy the product from you, not from FedEx or UPS. So it's another important point to take in account when you're giving answers to the customer. No? Thank you,
Exchange,
guys.
and clients appreciate when you say like, sorry, you know, I mean, like, we give you this kind of like, you know, like a reward points or coupons. They really appreciate.
Mm.
They hear, they feel their complaints are heard. So they are sometimes come back to us and say like, so sorry, you know, brand name, I was just too emotional, you know.
Actually, in terms of consumer psychology, it's quite interesting that most consumers are very forgiving when it comes to mistakes. People are not forgiving when it comes to how the mistakes are handled. That's a big difference. People are okay if you have an issue, as long as you take ownership, you apologize, you do the right thing. But if you, as you say, it's not our thing, it's FedEx, no customer cares. Like you say, you make a very, very good point there. If I wait for something, I want you to help me. I don't want to deal with UPS. I don't want to have more work. So as Mahoto said, it's a great opportunity to connect and make customers feel like you care. That's really something that people appreciate and value in terms of long-term investment in a brand and a shop. Yeah.
It's a beautiful idea. Thank you. What other questions are there, please? I had actually a few while we're waiting for others. Is there globally, when you is Black Friday universally used as the caveat around these types of promotions? Are there different names for it around the world that either you would recommend or suggest?
Should I do this? I was born to do this. So because I've done a lot of research into the history of Black Friday, and like outside of the United States, Black Friday is actually relatively new, right? But it has gained so much. Keep in mind, it actually originates from offline and then it becomes online. And Amazon, for instance, has done wonders to bring Black Friday to the world. And at this point, there's more countries that celebrate Black Friday, actually calling it Black Friday, than don't. A lot of Asian countries do it, and it's going to catch up. So even if some countries don't use Black Friday right now, Black Friday as a sales term will be a global thing in 5 years, 10 years. Everyone is going to use it. It's like Coca-Cola. It's like, okay, everyone understands that. It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's one of the downsides. No, actually not downsides. It's one of the weird things about globalization, that even in countries where people don't speak English, they will be able to say and understand certain terms. And Black Friday is going to be one of them. Because there's so much heft behind it and so many industries behind it who want to capitalize on it. The only country right now where I would say Black Friday is not a big thing would be China, because they have Singles Day, which is bigger there. And it's also very close to Black Friday. But let's see how that goes, because what I see right now is that November is just becoming a big sales month where like Singles Day and Black Friday merge. But I do think Black Friday as a term will beat Singles Day as a concept. That's my prediction. We have this on record. We're recording this, so let's meet again in 5 years to see if I was right.
In some regions, you have variations. Like in Mexico, for example, you have the Buen Fin. It's kind of the same, the different dates, but it's kind of the same event on the same days.
What called?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because you find that in quite a few countries, right? So Germany a couple of years ago, for instance, would have Schwarzer Freitag, which, you know, is the same thing, just a different word. But it changes. Now everyone is saying Black Friday. Give it time. Black Friday is so powerful, and it gets powerful, like more powerful every year. So even in countries like Mexico and Latin America, in a couple of years, I predict it's going to be Black Friday. Yeah.
We'll definitely.
Let me add something more now, Marcus. I was late. I'm part of the Lingball team as well. But now that you're mentioning that, I'm based in Switzerland, So now to answer that question, here in Switzerland, I have seen a lot of ads. They don't call it now, this year, they haven't called it Black Friday by Black November, which means that now Black Friday is not reduced only to 1 day. It's more than 1 day. It can be 1 week, 2 weeks, even a month. And I think it's a good idea to call it Black November. And I'm sure people will perfectly relate it as Black Friday.
And that, thank you. That's a great addition. It kind of relates to a second question that I had, and that was in terms of timing. Is it case by case, business by business, whether you offer it on Black Friday only, or through the weekend, or now, or some date through Black Friday, or through the weekend, or beyond for the whole month? How do people decide what's standard for timing?
The standard ritual would be from, like, if you don't do anything big, if you want to keep it short, it's Friday, Black Friday to Cyber Monday, right? These used to be different things. Like, so Cyber Monday originally was the response of online stores to the brick and mortar Black Friday, but it has merged into one thing. So 4 days is the minimum for Black Friday. Cyber Monday is the Monday. Now, what I see is in fashion, I feel very strongly that it's at least a week. So from Monday to Monday. So this year would be the 21st till the 27th. But like Fabrizio say, I see a lot of people who start Black Friday now. What I do think, though, is that keeping a sale going for an entire month is actually a very difficult thing because you lose momentum. People get bored. So what very often happens is, even if you have 4 weeks of campaigns, you need to vary your offerings. So for instance, each week you have different things you put on sale, and usually you have the biggest discounts still from Black Friday to Cyber Monday. So that's the blowout sale. That's what we're doing right now. I've seen a couple of our brands have started Black Friday already, Black Month. But the big sale, like the massive sale where we actually go all in and put everything on sale for a couple of days, that will be from Friday to Monday. Yeah.
Great comments. What do you make any recommendations, or do you get involved in businesses that are services only? And are there other exceptions depending on product, different kinds of products, like vehicles versus smaller retail products? Are there fundamental strategies for services businesses or specific other industries?
I mean, we don't deal with services, but like what I can see is that a lot of service provider here in the UK would also just have Black Month and give special discounts for certain things throughout November. But that's not my area of expertise, so I would leave that with Mahoto and JB if you guys know more.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Harada-san, so I guess it's maybe, especially given your expertise in Japan, it was around services businesses. You don't get involved with those, but are there best practices for services as well? And then kind of related, depending on the product, are there other things that we should be thinking about? Like for vehicles, cars, that's a lot different product than cosmetics or food or other things. How should people be looking at the depending on whether it's a service, whether it's a specific type of product, in terms of architecting the strategy?
You mean in terms of the Black Friday campaign?
Exactly. How long, how much discount, what to say, and how to articulate what's going on.
One of the factors that you have to take care of is that how competitors are reacting to using this campaign. So when in the industry, the norm is that everyone is discounted by 30%, and if you only discount 10%, you're not going to appear, in terms of the branding, appear as an attractive company. So you need to take a look at your competitors and what's the norm in terms of the industry standard. But at the same time, I don't really see a huge difference in terms of, for instance, automotive or service industry. When many of us sign up to some kind of, like, software companies and newsletters or something like that, And oftentimes they send you still, even though it's not a tangible product, they send you a, hey, this is a Black Friday week. You can get 15% discount, 20% discount, right? So stuff like that. So Black Friday is applicable to any industry. This is a great opportunity for brands or companies to have your future customers to experience your product. So I think one of the key things that, as a business, you need to take care of is that you shouldn't put too much focus on making profit during Black Friday and events like this. This is an opportunity to push the back of your future clients to experience your brand, not just a product, but as an interaction. So if you handle this Black Friday campaign very well, you have an opportunity to create a lifetime value of much more than just one single transaction. Whereas if you don't do anything for Black Friday, you are basically missing out, meeting or acquiring those loyal customers who's going to be spending like $10,000 eventually. So I think whatever industry you are in, you have to see this as an opportunity to get to meet new clients that might be super loyal to you. I wonder, did I answer your question?
That brilliantly. That was perfect. Thank you. Ruby or anybody else in the audience, do you have any particular questions about your own businesses or businesses that you're working with regarding with our speakers? You can tell that we've got some real experts here. Any additional questions from the audience, please? I see Christopher in the audience. Great, thank you for joining. And Jason, are you here? Really? Jason, coming in from Japan? Welcome.
I am. How are you going?
Fantastic. Hey, we were just talking about Black Friday, and are you in Australia right now?
I am in Australia right now.
Okay, so I'll bet you've probably designed a few Black Friday campaigns yourself.
Not exactly. No, I haven't had a lot to do with e-commerce other than learning about it. It happens in Japan. It's nowhere near as big as it is in the US or, of course, China in their own way. Yeah, interesting to hear from everybody.
Well, thanks for joining today. And Jason runs.
Really got any questions other than if they have any experience with Black Friday in Japan?
Very good. Thank you. Jason runs a very large LinkedIn group called Business in Japan. Definitely check that out. Any other questions? And Ruby, I think, is here. It would be great to hear from you from an Africa standpoint if you've got any comments, but you're probably tied up, maybe driving your kids from home. So thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Any other, since we're at the top of the hour, JB, are there any additional comments that either you or Harada-san or Marcus or anyone from Linkable would like to make? Marcus, would you like to give any final closing comments? And then maybe have Harada-san make any final comment?
Yeah, so Black Friday is a great opportunity to expand your market, to discover new clients, but do it the right way. Plan it in advance. If you do Black Friday, no half measures. It's really important. I think we heard something here before. It's also, there's risks attached to it as well if you don't do it right. So we're always here to help, by the way. If you need help, just reach out to us. We're excited for this kind of stuff, and we have tons of experience. So I want to leave you with the positives. Doing a good Black Friday campaign can change your business. It really can. There you go. Mahoto, I give the word to you.
If you or your company is trying to expand your market, Black Friday is an awesome opportunity. And especially in Japan, where companies are very risk averse, I always repeat this to them. You are taking some risks by trying something new. But the biggest risk is not trying, because you cannot learn anything unless you try. As long as you're trying, you keep learning and you get better at it, which is essentially, at the end of the day, becomes the biggest obstacle for your competitors to reach you, because they cannot do it overnight. So try it, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that famous gravestone. I forget the fellow who was the author who wrote this. On his gravestone, it says, "Don't try." And really, the basic idea is enveloped in what you just said. Don't think about it. Don't consternate over it, but do it. You know, just like in life, you know, don't just get
That's
stuff. So I think
that's
you presented today
that's
fire,
Bukowski.
great opportunity. Sorry,
So
go ahead, Mark.
that was Charles Bukowski. That's his
Charles-
gravestone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So amazing writer, and probably the best gravestone ever. For sure. JB, thank you for pulling us together. What would you like to say in final conclusion, please?
Well, thank you very much again, Duke, for your for all of this. We couldn't do it without you. And I want to tell everyone that we are always open. If you need an advice, you can reach us anytime. We are happy to give an advice. If you have a project, any difficulty, we are happy to support in any way we can. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. That's the end of our program. If you have any trouble getting a hold of any of the speakers, please contact us at Global Chamber at info@globalchamber.org, or just directly to me, Doug@globalchamber.org, and we'll be happy to connect you in. Check out Linkbull. It's spelled a little bit differently than you might expect, but very cleverly, as you can see in the background for JB and all the speakers. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Take care and have a great day.
Bye for
Thanks,
now.
everybody.